So that's in your handout tonight. There's a meeting summary from October 25th included, so that's from the last meeting. Again, if you see something that doesn't match your recollection, please let us know, either between now and the next meeting. And again, these are always posted on the website as well, correct, Dave? So these are available for people as we're going along. They will be. Yep.
Yeah.
The question regarding courtyards came up at the last meeting, so we provided you as just a little exhibit on the current courtyards. Some vintages of construction, 1995, so it was 1970, it was actually open, it wasn't an enclosed courtyard. 95, an addition went on that made it an enclosed courtyard. The bottom image, we tried to provide you with the size, so there's just over 10,000 square feet of space in that courtyard. Provided some photos. Really the discussion is, should we just cap that and use it for something? That's probably, along with our building was built on a dump. That's the first rumor we always hear in communities. The other is, why can't we cap our courtyards? This is a very common discussion we have with every community that has a courtyard, so I'm not surprised at all by it. The real reason is, there's a variety of reasons. I think the number one reason is that the natural light that is being provided to all of the adjacent classrooms and offices and occupied spaces around that courtyard would be eliminated if we were to simply cap it and create learning space out of it. So that's the number one driver typically. Another driver often is fire code, building code. So right now, if we were to try to cap this, the state code would look at it as its own building. So we would have a building built within a building, if that makes any sense. In the code world it does. You can't exit from one building into another building. So we would have a condition, we would have to create a rated egress path of significance through. It's not that it's not achievable, it's not that it's not doable. We may land, as we explore solutions, that this might be an option to explore. But the rationale for courtyards is strong. It's not there because it's supposed to be a beautiful space to look at. They are inherently more difficult to maintain and take care of than a space that you can simply drive your lawnmower or your maintenance equipment into. But in this case, the natural light that is being provided to all four sides of that courtyard since the 70s and then eventually the 90s when it was enclosed. That's probably the most important piece as we consider what to do, if anything, with the courtyard piece. So it really is just addressing a comment or a question that the group had at the last meeting. The next document is...
What's the deal with natural light? I don't understand. Because we're sitting in a room that doesn't have natural light.
Yeah, this is not a classroom that students would be in throughout the day. In an
Was the
ideal
library,
scenario.
did the library have natural light?
No, I don't believe so.
They try to keep it in rooms that kids are in most often.
Oh.
It's not an ideal scenario, and if you're starting from scratch, and we're not, I'm not suggesting that this is a goal, but when you start from scratch with a building, the goal is to try to get natural light to as many occupied spaces as possible. The next question or comment was, what about the built-up air handlers? So what we provided here is a document trying to show you roughly where that sits. So those of you that got the privilege of going in the janitor's closet to get to the data room, and if you saw, I don't think did anybody venture up the spiral stair to check that out? All right, good. All of those units up there are housed roughly in the area where the dashed red lines are, so you can get a sense of how large that built-up air handler room is above the corridor, locker bay, janitor, and IT area. And then just a few comments on what's included in there. Again, trying to answer a question from last time. All right, did we get through I'll call it a little bit of the cleanup from last time. Dave touched on building energy use, 25-year facility plan, IT we learned about. All right. So the next thing we're going to spend a few minutes on is talk a little bit about, is this one plugged in? Yep, we're good to go. All right, so we wanted to spend a few minutes talking about spaces that enhance teaching and learning. And I want to make sure people understand we're not recommending you do any of these things. So we do a lot of K-12 school work around the state of Wisconsin and the region, and a lot of our committees want to get a sense of, what's different, how are schools different. And so we're just going to give you a little slideshow, talk about some things that we're seeing as trends. And again, trends don't mean you do them. We're not suggesting you do these, but it's just to give you kind of a sense. We get to tour schools all the time, traveling all over the state, seeing different schools, seeing what people are doing. It's not realistic to put this group on a bus and spend 5 days touring schools and showing you the spaces as much as we would like to. So we're going to try to give you a little bit of a tour through some pictures. So one thing we're seeing a lot of is, and this is an elementary school setting, is cafeterias or commons. These are far more than just a place that kids go to eat lunch a couple periods a day. These are spaces that are the hub for the breakfast activity, which was likely a non-existent program when many of us went to school. These are spaces that are community centers in the evenings. These are large group instruction spaces where students and entire grade levels are breaking out and using as learning space during those hours. So this is just an example of one that was recently completed. Another example here, a larger middle school setting, a lot of natural light spilling in. There's a stage on the left to support their middle school drama program. Lectures that come to schools, they typically will break out into this space, so all 6th graders come together in this setting. Could be any grade level, doesn't matter what type school it is. And they're able to use this and not disturb the Phi-Ed curriculum, where, again, most of us probably went to a gymnasium where we had to displace the Phi-Ed curriculum as it was occurring. Another example, it is a large high school similar, so Hudson is planning for 2,000 students, so similar size, maybe slightly smaller than East and West if you combine them. These are also very social spaces, so this is less a space that supports the before school, after school, earned privilege when students have study hall. If, in our day it was probably study hall. Kids are waiting for rides, they're waiting before or after a sporting event, play practice, whatever co-curricular may be. So although they're designed to support dining during the key lunch periods, they're really spaces that are active throughout the entire day and support not only the educational side, but the social development of students. Another example, this is over in Port Washington. Something simple as different seating styles, and these pointers just don't work on TVs like they used to on screens. So on the right side of this image, just something as simple as breaking up seating styles. Not every student is comfortable sitting at a table you can see here, this is kind of a great photo where we've got ovals, we've got long tables, we've got high top tables, we've got single tables facing the window. That's intentional. Not every student wants to eat in the same setting. Not every student has the same level of comfort in large groups. So providing choice to students in something as simple as a lunch period can make a huge difference on their day. Hand washing stations. This is a cool story. The 6th grade kids were studying hygiene when we were designing this school. And they said, can you come talk to our class about hygiene? And we're thinking, we've designed schools for 50 years, but sure, we'll go listen to the kids. They had this brilliant idea of putting sinks in where they line up to go into the lunchroom. How cool is that? And there's a really simple change. Move the storage.
Did you design all of these buildings
Yes.
that we're seeing?
Yes. So just simply move the storage room down the way. Kids now line up. They wash their hands, go right into the class. So listen to kids. We should trust them more, I think. It's supposed to be working.
Was this all referendum work too?
I don't want to say yes, but most of them were probably referendum work. I don't want to be misquoted, so I think most of them were referendum projects, but there may be a few in here that aren't, so I don't want to say exclusively that they were. STEM or STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, and math, or some people are adding the A for art, some are adding the A for egg, so there might be, I don't even know what an acronym with 2 A's would be, but STEAAM. This is really kind of the integrated curricular delivery model where we're bringing some traditional subjects together with what a lot of us probably had with shop class, so autos, metals, woods, drafting. So you can imagine manufacturing is a big thing now, so I'm just going to talk a little bit and show you some spaces. This is a middle school class, and in my middle school you learned how to, I think we built a birdhouse or a toolbox or something like that, and this is now a middle school curriculum. It's really focused on a gateway to technology, which is a Project Lead the Way feeder program. It's about robotics, it's about computer-generated modeling, it's about engineering, it's about getting students of all genders interested in and exposed to different subjects to see if they're interested in taking them as they move forward. This room really looks different. This furniture is extremely different than anything we ever had growing up, I imagine. Most of us did. These chairs are designed to sit backwards. Okay, kid wants to sit backwards, let them sit backwards. You can actually rock on them and they don't break. These tables are all on casters. This room will look different every single time you go into it. And that's really what spaces, excuse me, have to evolve to become. Another example of charging stations. I usually say this is an elementary school, and every elementary kid has a cell phone. It actually isn't. It's a high school, but most kids, we need to provide locations for students to charge. Something really simple, providing more power. We heard from the tech director earlier that just something as simple as access to outlets to charge and to support the use of technology in our schools is a huge deal. This is a space where on the right side of this plan is a very traditional woods, metals, automobile class. On the left side of this is a physics classroom, an ag lab, a photography studio. They're designing products and materials and prototypes on the left side of this plan. They're collaborating, they're presenting, they're building a business plan in the center piece that you see here. And then on the right side, they're learning how to build it. It's a great example of kind of bringing all those technologies and all those curriculums into a zone of a building.